look at it, says the glory is dead, doesn't it? So I don't think anybody should be sort of disrespecting that. Look, nobody should disrespect the dead. Nobody, especially people who've fought through a war.
You know, there's different ways of protesting, but when you vandalise things, I think people just get annoyed with it and think, well, you know, won't people give them the time?
Disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful. Shouldn't be allowed to happen. The people should be prosecuted, arrested and taken away.
Have your citizenship revoked and you should be deported out of this country. We have for too long tolerated the intolerant, and it's about time we had a robust defence of British and Western values and we stood up for Western civilization and what it stands for.
Hello everyone, I'm Alexa Lavoie for Rebel News, currently in the UK, specifically London. I am here to cover the pro-Palestine protest scheduled for tomorrow, coinciding with Remembrance Day. Pro-Palestine has chosen this significant day to march, a day dedicated to honoring veterans and symbolizing peace. It's worth mentioning that previous pro-Palestine protests have resulted in incidents of vandalism and disrespect towards the veteran. And the police have allowed this to happen out of fear for their own safety.
Have your flags, just not on the barriers, that's it.
And yet when they march down with hundreds of Palestinian flags, you won't say a word.
There's way more of them than there is us.
Today, I want to speak to the people on the street about multiple topics. Before showing you the video, please don't forget to support me on my journey by making a donation at battleforlondon.com. And now, let's hear the opinion of the people on the ground in London. Following many protests here in London of pro-Palestine, there was some cenotaph that was vandalized. So I'm gathering the opinion of people, what they think about that.
It's never good to vandalize anything for anything.
Well, my father was in the RAF, Royal Air Force. He fought for freedom of speech. That's one of the things he fought for. And I'm all for freedom of speech, and I'm all for the march tomorrow. But I'm not for people who vandalise the cenotaph, because I think it's a place of remembrance and it shouldn't be touched.
Nobody should be, look at it, says the glory is dead, doesn't it? So I don't think anybody should be sort of disrespecting that. Look, nobody should disrespect the dead. Nobody, especially people who've fought through a war.
Well, I think it's a real shame. Everyone's got a right to demonstrate and it's absolutely right and fair. But with the freedoms and rights of demonstrating also comes a freedom and responsibility. And I just think it's sad that they have to guard it with the police because somebody can't, for 2 days, just be peaceful, leave it alone, and let's respect the fact that people have fallen in the past for us to have this freedom to be talking as we are now. And I think it's a real shame.
If they have issues, they can protest peacefully without destroying any properties.
Well, I think it's disgusting, really. You know, there's different ways of protesting, but when you vandalise things, I think people just get annoyed with it and think, well, you know, won't people give them the time?
Disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful. Shouldn't be allowed to happen. The people should be prosecuted, arrested and taken away. Because I'm a veteran, I come here every year, I'm a veteran from Northern Ireland and the Falklands and the Gulf, and I think demonstrations here should not be allowed.
I don't think that we should vandalise anything in protest, but I think people should have the right to protest as fully and peacefully as they wish.
Disgusting. Yeah. No respect for those that have fallen before, especially people that died in the war. We've all lost people, you know. It's very, very bad.
All I can say is just spare a thought for those World War II veterans who are still alive today and who've marched proudly and solemnly down Whitehall to fight. You know, they fought and laid down, their friends laid down their lives to defend the cause of freedom. And you must think, what are they thinking about the country today? Is this the Britain that we fought to defend? When they see mass calls to prayer, a flexing of Islamic muscle, people occupying Whitehall. We're seeing deliberately an attempt to have a march on Armistice Day when the police have requested requested it not to be done. We've seen lovely demonstrations by members of the public and the Jewish community, which have been very peaceful. And the contrast with the aggressive, intimidating sort of marches we've seen around this cenotaph are a great contrast. This is the most sacred spot in Britain, and I only hope that tomorrow's march goes past peacefully.
What do you think about the two protests that will happen simultaneously this weekend?
I don't think we should have to protect the cenotaph. I think right-thinking people will just leave it alone anyway. And I stand with everyone in that conflict, in Gaza, in Israel, all the innocent civilians. I stand for all of them.
You can hype things up like that, and when you hype things up like that, that maybe makes friction. Let's not make friction. Let's see what happens. And I'm sure the Metropolitan Police have got it under control.
Again, I just think it's really sad.
I'm a free speech fundamentalist, and I think, if I'm in favour of people who are concerned about Islamic illiberalism having their own marches, if they want to carry pictures of Muhammad or even burn the Quran. And if I defend that right, I have to defend the right of people to have their own march. What I'm concerned about is the fact that there was a decision to have it pass quite close to where we are now. There should have been a ban for all of central London, so the march could have taken place, but it should have been at least within a 2 hours walk of the cenotaph, because there's every chance when you have perhaps 1 million people on the streets that there will be a splinter group who could come here to cause trouble. And I think it was a bit of a shame to have it done. Also, I'm very concerned that at 11 a.m. we should be having a 2-minute silence, and the Palestinian protesters will be gathering at 11 a.m. and I would only ask that they actually observe the national silence that we will all be doing.
So following to the conflict between Israel and Palestine, we see a rise on anti-Semitism, a little bit of worldwide, mostly in Western countries. What do you think about that?
I don't side with any of them. I don't believe in war, and therefore, if there are any issues, they have to sit and then diplomatically solve the situation instead of war. So I don't believe in wars. I believe in diplomacy in solving problems.
Well, again, it's religion. It's supposed to be the most, respected thing in the world, and yet all wars are fight over religion. And I don't think we've learnt anything from his dad was in Palestine and Gaza in 1945, fighting for the same reason. So we just don't learn from history. That's the thing that's sad.
No, unnecessary. Shouldn't be allowed. I have sympathy for both sides. I think both sides should have a homeland to live in on equal rights. So I think it's unnecessary, totally unnecessary, and out of order, really.
I think that you can see both anti-Semitism and Islamophobia running rampant right now in Western countries, and it's sad.
Well, again, worldwide, it's very sad, people turning on each other. It's not something that sits well with me.
I'm sure we're all appalled to think that in the 21st century, anti-Semitism is once again rearing its ugly head in the West. And the West more or less stamped it out. And unfortunately, the reality is, because of mass immigration and the failed policies of multiculturalism, we've imported into this country, into the Anglosphere, into Canada and elsewhere, foreign beliefs and foreign conflicts. We've seen it in the north of England between Hindus and Muslims having fights, and we're seeing it now to the terrible stain of anti-Semitism returning. And the British media always say that misogyny, homophobia and anti-Semitism are on the rise in London, but they never actually call out the reason why. It's due to mass immigration, and we need to be honest enough to have an adult discussion about those very issues that are affecting a growing number of people in this country, where Jews are now scared to actually go out on the streets.
Should foreign nationals and those on student visas be deported for supporting Hamas, a terrorist organization?
When in Rome, if you're in this country and you're studying and you have some sort of monetary background, you shouldn't go against what's going on in this country.
We're classing Hamas as terrorists. If we're classing Hamas as terrorists, then obviously we shouldn't be letting them in the country. If that's what the legitimacy is. Other than that, that's all I can really say on that matter.
That's a massively difficult question, isn't it? In my heart, I think so. If they're going to provoke violence, then they're not welcome, really, are they? Again, everyone has their own opinion. Respect that. But if you're going to promote violence, really, it's not nice. Can't be doing with it.
Again, it gets too political because you've got, it's a terrorist group. So, why would you support terrorists? They, in all fairness, it was them that started all this problem in Israel by the attack they did and killed the people. So, you know, earlier on in October. So really, you know, why would you support a terrorist group?
I don't know what to say about that, to be honest with you. I think it's sad to support a terrorist group that's harming innocent people, but
Hamas and Hezbollah should not be allowed any voice in this country.
I don't think I have a stance on that because I'm not from here. So I'm sorry. You should ask people who have some better knowledge on the specifics of what you're asking.
Anybody that's supporting a known terrorist, you know, yes. I mean, I don't agree with them at all. Send them, cancel, whatever.
There's no doubt, if you are supporting Hamas, you are supporting a prescribed terrorist organization in this country. And if you're here on a visa, even if you're a dual national, I think you should have your citizenship revoked and you should be deported out of this country. We have, for too long, tolerated the intolerant. And it's about time we had a robust defense of British and Western values, and we stood up for Western civilization and what it stands for. And that means saying no to such abhorrent, virulent hatred as we've seen over the last few weeks.
Please visit battleforlondon.com and donate what you can to help me offset my travel expenses and private security fees. As you saw previously, security is crucial given the uncertainties. I'm traveling on the budget to be on site, but it is an important story to cover and to get the facts. Follow me tomorrow on Twitter for live updates from the middle of London.